Welcome to The Adaptive Mind, where we talk with experts about practical, effective approaches to breaking habits and changing behavior. I'm your host, Brady Dowling. I'm glad you're listening. The Adaptive Mind is presented by Neurture, the #1 research-based app to help you break habits using self-compassion and science-backed methods. Find the link to install Neurture on iPhone or Android in the show notes. Welcome to this episode of The Adaptive Mind. Today we have Myah Revis, who is a fifth-year clinical psychology doctoral student. She's interested in specializing in trauma psychology, where therapeutic strategies like writing prompts and journaling exercises help people overcome some of the most challenging mental health disorders. Myah, welcome, and thanks for joining today.
Thank you so much, Brady. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess to start at a high level, what is it about journaling that's so valuable for our minds?
I think journaling is very valuable because it's a form of expressing yourself. So we often think about people expressing themselves through music or dance or, some type of art. But you can think of journaling as a way of expressing yourself as well. It's a great tool to get all your thoughts out, your ideas. And it's just a way that allows you to kind of make sense of things that are bogging your mind down. So,
Yeah, I think for me, what you just said kind of strikes because a lot of times I'll have thoughts swirling, and once I put it on paper, then that's when it makes a lot more sense to me.
exactly.
So how does journaling promote neuroplasticity or changing our minds, or how might it help someone change their behaviors?
Yeah, so there are a few evidence-based therapeutic interventions that encourage the use of journaling as a way to help someone relive like certain challenging experiences. So through those interventions, they'll have the person write about a specific event, and then they will guide them through the therapy with different writing prompts. So one prompt may be, how do you think this event has impacted your life? And so through these different prompts, the person is able to process the experience in a different way, which then can turn into behavior change because they're looking at the situation from a different perspective.
I see. So it sounds like um, they're almost in a traditional talk therapy setting, but instead of talking out the answer, the patient or the client is writing out the answers, right?
Right, that's exactly right. And that can be beneficial for people who are, who thinks it's scary to go to therapy. Writing about it may be more comforting for them.
Got it. Okay. And what, beyond those things, what are the other benefits of journaling that people might get?
I think the biggest benefit is just the relief that you can get from it. I've heard of this exercise where if you're like angry with someone, to write them an angry letter or something, and then maybe throw it away or set it on fire or something like that. And I think that just speaks to how you can relieve some of those tensions through just writing something out and then, not being attached to it and just throwing it away. So I think that could be really beneficial.
Yeah, I actually, sometimes when I write things down that are on my mind that are weighing on me, like I feel like I need to do them really badly. Once I write them down, it actually, in a way, makes me less motivated because it's almost like I'm giving it up and I don't need to hold on to it as much anymore.
Right.
So when you're journaling, I guess these days, um, there are many different ways to kind of document your thoughts or even your life, your history, whatever. So you could be writing with pen and paper, you could be typing on a computer, you could even be recording on voice recorder on your phone. Does the medium make a difference in the effects that this quote unquote journaling has on the person who's doing it?
Well, I think it is very beneficial to journal in any form, whether it's a voice note or you're writing in your notes on your phone, like texting, or you're writing it out. It's benefits to all of it because those thoughts that you have inside. It's not just staying in your brain. You're actually getting them out. But research does show that when we write something, our brain processes it in a much different way than if we are just like typing. And so there are also some therapeutic interventions where they will really encourage you to write something instead of typing it, just because of the way our brain engages with writing versus typing something.
I see. So it's kind of twofold. One is just the process and act of getting these thoughts and probably emotions out, but then it's also
Right.
doing this actual physical activity of
Hmm.
putting pen or pencil to paper and putting thoughts down there.
Right. Exactly.
So when someone is journaling, oftentimes for me, when I journal, my metric that I go for is like, I want to do a page or I want to do 2 pages, whatever. I'm counting pages. Um, are there, is there like a certain number of pages or time, or is there any kind of metric that's specifically important, or is that kind of just fluff? Like, is there a certain thing that people should be aiming for when they're journaling?
I will say this is a great question because I personally will write and I'll look up and I have wrote 3 pages. And so maybe I do need to, kind of cut mine down to 1 or 2 pages. But as far as like therapy wise, there are some interventions where the client will need to write at least, for 15 minutes. That is proven to be effective. And then you have other interventions where it's, 30 minutes. So I would say at least 15 minutes of writing would give the person enough time to at least start developing something related to what they want to write down.
Got it. Yeah. I think for me, when I'm writing things down, it helps really any amount of time to write. But like you said, once I get into 10, 15 minutes, then it's like really just kind of pulling any kind of thoughts or emotions out. And I can get in this kind of rhythm where it just feels nice and feels
Mhm.
calming and peaceful, I guess. So getting, I guess, still a little nitty gritty, but would you would you count a to-do list as journaling, or um, are there different approaches to journaling that could still benefit somebody if it isn't necessarily like this was my day, or kind of the classic journaling experience?
I personally I definitely would say a to-do list is a form of journaling because in our day and age, we are so busy. We have sometimes double things booked in an hour. And so sometimes we forget these things and then we have it in our minds. And that's very overwhelming to think about all the things we have to do. And so it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about relief. If you write all these things down, it's relieving to, first of all, get it out on paper. And then it's a way to organize yourself too. And so I definitely would consider a to-do list to be one. It's also beneficial because we can organize our day or our behavior and maybe categorize, what's most important, what can be done later. So it's definitely beneficial. And then as far as, how to go deeper, it's just an opportunity to, like you were saying, like instead of just writing about your day or how you feel about something, but take it a step deeper and say, how did this interaction in this day impact how I thought about this person or how I thought about myself? And so just kind of processing and doing that reflective writing would definitely transition, your journaling from just this, you know, um, small topic to a larger scale thing.
Yeah, that's I definitely can see that in my experience when I go from like saying, I went to the store, I did this, I did that, this like factual statements in what I'm writing, to saying, how did this make me feel, or what are some things I'm going to do different, or really like just taking it up one small notch, then I think it makes a huge difference. Um, so can you talk about like the timing or the cadence? Is there a certain time of day that's most helpful to journal, or maybe like a frequency that's ideal for journaling?
Yeah, I find it most beneficial when I write when I'm overwhelmed with a lot of different things. And it doesn't have to necessarily be when you're overwhelmed. You can write for enjoyment. If you heard a funny joke or something like that, you can journal about why it was funny. So I think it really just depends on the person and, their schedule. Some people may wake up and journal, or some people may journal right before bed because, that could be a form of relaxation before going to bed. So it really just depends on the person.
Got it. Very personalized and specific approach to that person. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe trying out lots of different things or being willing to experiment on different things could be helpful.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Do you feel like journaling could be a replacement for maybe a traditional talk therapy?
Well, journaling is used in a lot of different therapeutic interventions. Sometimes journaling can be assigned for homework. So I think it's really best to be added to, if you're seeing a therapist, to also go home and journal, and maybe even journal about the session that you had, or, whatever your therapist may assign you. But journaling is definitely assigned as a form of homework in therapy.
Okay, I see. Um, and then we've kind of touched on some of these that would be really useful, but for someone that's just getting started journaling, what are some tips that you would give to kind of help them jump into it or maybe even ease into it?
Mhm. Yeah, so it really goes back to the to-do list, starting something like that. Especially for our overthinkers out there who, just think a lot. It'll be really great to just start with, okay, so what do I have to do for the day? Or, what do I have to do for the week? What are the different events that I have to attend this week? I think starting there would make journaling not so, I guess, demanding. And then for people who are already journaling, I think just go a step further and process it a little bit deeper. So if you normally just write about situations that make you angry or sad, things like that, maybe writing about situations where you felt joy. Or if you do write about situations that have been stressful, maybe doing some more reflection in there and maybe thinking about, okay, so what does this mean for me? And what do I think about myself? And you'll start to notice some thought patterns you have, and then that will help you to look at things from a different perspective.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Myah. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I think there's a lot that I can take out of it and really apply into my life right away. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Adaptive Mind, brought to you by Neurture, the research-based app for overcoming unwanted or addictive behaviors. I hope you found our conversation insightful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing these learnings to people that need them. Remember that you have an adaptive mind that does incredible things every day, and it's capable of even more. We'll see you in the next episode.